Right here are a couple of roosters, and what I do is I just set them in a pot of water and let them simmer for a couple of hours, and then I debone it and I use it for chicken noodle soup or whatever recipe I'm making. Chicken Cordon Bleu bake is really, really good. It takes a lot of chicken, and then on top of the chicken we put some cheese, stuffing, some sauce. You put it in the oven, warm it up, and it is just really, really good. I got my roosters in my stock pot. They're going to be cooking for a couple of hours. Well, happy Sunday, everyone. This is now a few days later. Here is the chicken. Today, I want to make a chicken Cordon Bleu bake, and it's a very, very simple recipe. The first thing I'm making is I'm going to make my stuffing. And then what I do, I just grab a pan and layer the pan with chicken, cheese, stuffing, and then I have a chicken soup that I put over that and some more cheese. It is simple, easy, and really, really delicious. The first thing I do is melt a cup of butter. This is cut up celery and onions. I'm going to add this, then add it to my stuffing. I'm going to add this to the cup of butter. Just let it saute here for a while. I'll need 3 cups of chicken broth. So this is some chicken broth I canned a while ago, and this will work just fine. Well, there you go, guys. Chicken Cordon Bleu bake. I made 4 pans. One of them is down here, down there. Gonna have that for dinner tonight. This, I'll try to make room in the freezer, and we'll have those for later. It is supper time. We're about ready to eat. I have dinner here, and I thought I'd show you what we have. This is scalloped potatoes, chicken Cordon Bleu bake, garlic bread, fixings for salad, and this is a cake, chocolate cake, and ice cream. So that's what we're having for dinner tonight. We're also hosting Michael Jones tonight.
A lot of smooth rock in that area. And it comes down maybe 100 feet, 150 feet, just naturally over the rocks. And kids have a lot of fun doing that.
It's like one big rock.
Yeah, water's coming down.
It was a joy to host Michael Jones. He is always full of stories of the past, of his childhood. Today, he was telling us about his ancestors and how he was related to William Penn. And through some of his research, he discovered William Penn may have been instrumental in bringing over some of the Amish from the old country. It was a very interesting story.
But Lord, is this you bringing, all these years later, bringing the Amish and the English back together again? And maybe everywhere doing this, you know? But my great-great-great-grandfather brought the Amish and Mennonites all to America. Really?
Really?
Well, if that's true, then Lord, what are you doing? I mean, that's the question that comes up. What are you doing? Because if we don't see the fingerprints of God on everything so much these days that we live in, what is he doing with all of us? Why has he gathered all of us to this place for something? Long story short.
It was so interesting listening to Michael Jones. After we ate, we all sat down around the table and Michael Jones continued his testimony of how God brought him through the darkest times of his life. If you haven't heard part 1 of Michael Jones' story, make sure to check out the link in the description.
1981, Los Angeles, I started reading the Bible. I could read! I remember reading, and I was reading about the part where Abraham was a friend of God. I stopped right there on those words. I put my finger on those verses. I like, what does it take to stand in these shoes? I'm ready to rumble. I'm ready to die on this spot. I think you know that. What does it take to stand in these shoes? And that's the way I approach him about everything. I'm not going away. You have to come out of the woodwork because I'm not going away. You're not letting me off the hook. I'm not letting you off the hook. You wrestled with a man all night long and then blessed him. I'll be that man. I'm glad to be that man. Because if I can't be the disciple that just gets out of the boat and walks over to it and says, did you want something? Forget the whole program. If we can't walk in the power that we were created to walk in, then we remain caterpillars when he's offering us wings. I don't want to be a caterpillar my whole life. I've been a caterpillar my whole life, looking up at everything, not understanding much. My life has been like a caterpillar. This caterpillar had to go into hard places and learn hard things. A lot of years of patience, a lot of years of wondering, praying, seeking, asking, knocking. 1991, I was up on Fisher Mountain right here, living in a wall tent up there all winter long. For a whole year on that job, I lived up there. On that job, I had no idea that just 5 miles away, the Amish were starting their store right down there. As a new Christian, I was really having problems trying to fit into the world and fit in with other Christians. And everybody knew that the Spirit of the Lord was upon me, but I guess I was probably so strange and different that I was still kind of an outsider. Being an outsider, I mean, if that's where your home is, I mean, you know, so you're comfortable there. I was so done with the church in Kalispell. There was a big church starting up in Kalispell. I was a part of it for a little while. It became more about money than it was about God. Well, that church, the hottest church in Kalispell, turned into a casino. And it's still a casino today. When I was living up on the mountain up here on Fisher Mountain, I had been in contact with a fishing buddy of mine that I'd met on Kodiak Island years earlier in Alaska. And up there, all the Christian fishermen, when we worked up there, we would tie our boats up together on Sunday mornings. We'd all get on the radio and meet in the same spot, tie our boats up, the guitars would come out, worship, we'd just have church on the ocean every Sunday. And one of these guys really took a liking to me. He had a 60-foot boat called the Erna W. And he says, Michael Jones, he says, anytime you want a job, anytime you want a ride to Alaska, back up here, you call me. I live in Astoria, Oregon. Here's my address, phone number, anytime. So I had a hold of his address for a number of years. When I was living up here on Fisher Mountain, I contacted him. I made up my mind that I'm going to Alaska. I just want to be alone for the rest of my life. I just want to be back in camp with the bears. Just want to be back in camp. And I don't want to be around people. Not that completely cut off, because, you know, once every 30 days or 60, be just fine, but that was my idea. So I had all the survival equipment in the world. I still do. I have. I'm one of those guys who can start fires with a bootlace, you know, and so I had every tool imaginable. I had all the gunpowder, guns, chainsaws, loghouse building tools, traps. Yeah. I had dynamite on this boat headed for Alaska, and told Lloyd I had driven down to from Fisher Mountain here in Libby. I had contacted him, and he says, meet me down in Astoria, Oregon, where my boat's at, parked on the Columbia River, and meet me down there. And so I met him down there, had a whole van load of stuff to load on his boat and take to Alaska. For a whole month, I painted every square inch of that boat, inside and out. I did all kinds of work for my passage and stuff. And Lloyd, neat Christian guy, says, Mike, what's your plans? And I says, well, you know, at this point in my life, I'm just going to go to Alaska. I says, here's the deal. I says, any available place that you can let me off without too much trouble, I just want to be alone. So if I can point to an island or a place or something, and I say right over there, if you can get me there and just drop me off and leave me, that's what I want. He said, Mike, are you sure that's what the Lord wants? And I said, well, I'm pretty sure the Lord knows everything here. This is where I'm shooting for. So the Lord's got a different plan he'll have to come up with. So, and sure enough, he did. So we're on our way up. Lloyd told the whole crew down there, load up. This is in Astoria, Oregon. Load up, we're headed for Alaska. So all the groceries got loaded up on the boat. Everything's prepared. The weatherman says it's going to be beautiful sailing up the coast of Washington and Oregon before you get into the inside passage. And everybody, okay, it comes the morning, we're sailing off. All the wives are on the docks waving, and the husbands, some of them are, you know, waving back to their families. And here we go. So we're headed down the Columbia River, and probably 2, 3, 4 miles to get down to the sea. And pretty soon we're looking down the river, and everything is white water in front of us. It's nasty looking down there. And so Lloyd just says, well, just hang on. It's going to be rough for a while. And so for 30 hours, it was a nightmare. For 30 hours, it was you hung on to, you wish your life just to go to the bathroom. For 30 hours, the cupboard doors were just going like this. Everything's on the floor. For 30 hours, it was everything the weatherman said it wasn't going to be. And all of a sudden, I'm down in the bottom of the boat, and just crammed into my bunk, and just hanging on. And all of a sudden, the hatch door flies open above me, and Lloyd screams, get up on deck, come up on deck. And so I get up there, and the first thing that happens is something stinging my eyes, something, can't see anything. There's wind and water coming in the door, hitting my eyes. Lloyd says, emergency, we're headed to shore. He says, there's a dock. He says, get everything ready, we're going to tie up to that dock. So we're all scrambling around, getting lines and buoys and everything ready to tie up to this dock. And everything is just, and it was a little bit sheltered there, more than open sea. So we tied up to this dock, and we got off the boat and shut the boat off. And we all got up on land and sitting there watching the boat crashing against the dock. And we're all talking. And we're all sitting on the ground. I don't know how long we were there. A rough night. Lloyd said to 2 of the guys, go down and check out the boat. And I remember that. And a bit later, they yelled, Lloyd, we found it. We've got it or something. And so we're getting up off the ground. And all of us headed back down to the boat. Everybody's standing on their feet, and I get up on my feet, and boom, I hit the ground. And I thought, okay, and I got up on my feet, and boom, I hit the ground harder. My brain still wasn't working yet, and I got up on my feet again, and this time I hit the ground hard and rolled. And it scared me, and words came out of me so fast, I couldn't think that fast. I said, Lord, what is it? As fast as the words came out, words came back as fast. Get off the boat. I knew it was him. I ran down to Lloyd, and I said, Lloyd, I said, the Lord just told me to get off this boat. So I'm sitting down on the dock, and I'm just weeping, and I'm just, whoa. And I look up, and Lloyd's shaking me, and he's saying, tears running down his face. He said, brother, the Lord is telling me the same thing. We need to get you off this boat. So we unloaded all my stuff on that dock. And Lloyd was amazed. They couldn't believe all the stuff I put in that bottom of that boat. He says, no wonder this thing had been listing to one side. Anyway, so all my stuff is up on this dock. It seemed like no sooner than we got the last of it up there, covering it up with a tarp, raining. One of the guys says, Lloyd, it's fixed. We're ready to go. And Lloyd, he gives me a piece of paper, writes something on a piece of paper. He says, this is my wife's phone number. This is my wife's address. He says, whatever you need, she will come get you. She will come get you. Call her, she'll come get you, take you wherever you want to go. Well, she had no idea none of this was going on. So I never did call her. I watched my boat go around the corner, and I was just in shock. And Lloyd had said, we want to get to Alaska quick. We want to get up there for this next halibut catch, because I make a lot of money on this catch. So I says, okay. And I says, good luck, we're praying for you, and all this stuff. And so I watched the boat go around the corner, and I'm standing there, it's raining, and I look at my stuff, and there's two Indian guys standing there looking at me. And they're looking at me, and they're looking at my stuff. I said something to them, I can't quite remember what it was, and they pointed at this trail, and I started walking down this trail, and I turned around and looked, and they were still standing back there, and I thought, they're going to steal all my stuff. And I thought, I didn't care. I need to go. I came out in this little clearing, a building with no paint on it, and somebody was sitting inside behind these windows, behind a desk, a lady, and there was a sign on the door that said McCall Fisheries. I didn't know what it meant. I walked in the door, and we talked for a second, and I says, well, are there any churches around? She says, well, there's an Assemblies of God. Or she says, you are on a McCall Indian reservation in Washington. Really? I thought I was in Canada. Anyway, so she says there are two churches on this reservation, an Assemblies of God and a Lutheran church and YWAM, Youth with a Mission. I says, YWAM? I says, there's YWAM out here? She says, there's an old Air Force base that YWAM is renting that Air Force base 3 miles on the other side of. And so she kind of gave me a brief description, and I thought I knew something about YWAM. And so I thought, well, I'm going to walk there. I didn't know how to get there, but I just took off walking. Here comes this yellow truck. First Christian I met there, little guy named Blanchard. He comes up and he says, where are you going? And I says, I'm trying to make it to YWAM. He says, I'm not going there, but get in my truck. Take you there. So he drove me 3 miles out and right through the reservation, the town, and out on another road. And he drove me up to the cafeteria of the Air Force base, and there was somebody sitting in there behind all these windows in this big cafeteria. And Blanchard said, that would be the man you want to see. And so he took me in there and introduced me to them. And Alan, he says, come in here, tell your story. And so I started telling my story, and he says, hold it, stop right there. He says, I got to go get somebody else. So he went and got the other head guy. And he says, okay, start again. We want to hear your story. So I spent, 2-3 hours in there telling them the story. And Alan, the first guy I talked to, he says, I need you to follow me. Come on. So I get up, and both of them, we walk across the street, and all these barracks, and 2 stories high. This is an old Air Force base. We walk over to these barracks, and we walk up this flight of stairs and down this hall. And we walk up to this door. It says, Michael Jones, welcome. And at the bottom of the door is a welcome basket. And he says, the Lord has brought you here. You have been brought to this place. You've been delivered to us. And you are not to leave here until the Lord releases you. This is where you stay.
You mean they knew your name before you came?
I don't know.
So they had your name there.
I don't know how it happened. I just don't know.
Yes, obviously. They didn't know you were coming, but they had your name on the door.
You could have, one of them could have said something to one of the ladies, or something, that got a room ready or something. I don't know what happened. I just knew that everything's boom, 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 boom. And all of a sudden, I'm a prisoner of YWAM for a whole year. And literally was a prisoner. I had a heart attack there. And I could not leave if I wanted to. For a whole year, I was stuck there. A quarter of a mile away from Susan's house. There's more to this story about. They went down and got all my stuff. I told them, I says, my stuff is down at the dock, my stuff. And they called and they says, go get his stuff. I says, you're gonna need a truck. He says, well, take the van. And so these guys went down and got my stuff and came back. And I had been talking to these guys more. And I says, I had, this is the deal. I says, I'll spend the night with you guys and maybe another one. But I says, all I need you guys to hang on to my stuff, lock it up for me. And they said, what are you going to do? And I says, I don't know. I just need you to lock up my stuff. Where are you going to go? And I says, I don't know. I says, I'll come back and get my stuff. We don't feel like you're supposed to leave. Well, they had me on a Friday night. It's open to the whole community, all to the whole reservation is welcome to come. They wanted me to give my testimony that Friday night. So here I'm giving my testimony in front of the whole reservation. And I tell them about the part where the Lord told me to get off the boat. Well, I hear this voice in the background says, Jonah Jones. And so that was kind of my name for a while. But Susan was in that crowd. I had all the arrangements to leave. I had a ride out of there. It was 2 hours to get out of there to the closest town. This is reservations at the end of the road. So I had a ride out of there, and I'm waiting for this car to show up. I had a history of heart problems. These guys were digging in a little trench, and I thought, well, I'll just help them while my ride is coming. I grabbed a shovel and started doing a little shoveling, and all of a sudden I fell down this trench. And it was like a Volkswagen laying on top of me, which I knew that pain. I knew I was in trouble. I just didn't know I was having a full-blown heart attack. So nobody, I guess, probably knew quite what was going on. They carried me back across the street and drugged me onto my bed. Everybody's running and yelling. I'm on my bed alone in my room. My whole bed is just going like this. I can see my foot bouncing against the wall. All of a sudden I have this vision. I'm right in the middle of a vision. I was with the Lord. All of a sudden we're standing in midair in front of a huge beating heart. And he's speaking to me, and I couldn't hear a word that he said. I could hear this heart beating. He's speaking to me and moving his hands. Why are we always standing in midair? Again, we're standing in midair, and again, he's speaking to me. I didn't know it right on the spot, but he was giving me instructions that this is where I was going to be for a while. For a whole year, I was stuck there. For a whole year, there was 4 registered nurses that took care of me there the whole time. I was in and out of hospitals in Seattle, all over the place, in and out of all kinds of hospitals. What God had me stuck with. I was stuck, trapped in Nia Bay with these people that are writing books. All these people at this Air Force were writing books, publishers, book cover making people. I was stuck with ghostwriters. God was teaching me how to write. I was able to finally get out of bed after a couple of months, but somebody would be right behind me with a wheelchair because I would collapse easy. And so it took me like half a year just to walk a quarter mile. My heart was just all over the place. But the Lord was on me every day, so heavy. He always is. I got to tell you this part. I had been in bed for a while, and I couldn't get out. And they were coming in and helping me, these nurses, and feeding me and everything else. The Lord spoke to me one day about a month after this happened. And I knew it was him. And it made me very angry. I was so angry at him. He said these words to me: "I put a bit and bridle on you." From that day forth, I had a vision of a horse in a corral. Day in and day out, I'm sick in bed. I see this horse in this corral. There's a man in the corral. This horse, it looks like he's just been caught, because he's wild and he ain't tame, and he's way over there and the man's way over here. And day in and day out, there's this man and the horse in this corral. It took me a long time to figure out that the horse was me. It took me a whole year to let him put his hand on me. And when he did, everything changed. When I let him. 3 months had gone by since the heart attack. The first month, he said, "I put a bit and bridle on you." 3 months had gone by. I'm getting out of bed a little bit now. A lot of pain. Life wasn't fun. He said it again. "I put a bit and bridle on you." I knew it was him. I knew it was him. And I was still mad. But by 3 months, I had some understanding. By 3 months, I was convinced that God was doing something here and that the horse was changing in the corral. And 3 months had gone by. I'd learned a lot. I couldn't put it all into words yet. So I accepted it, okay. 7 months, after 7 months, he said it again. I was getting out of bed. I threw the covers off of my feet, putting my toes to the floor, and he said it again. "I put a bit and bridle on you." I knew it was him. I fell down to the floor and I wept. I must have wept for half a day. I just wept. I just wept and I wept and I wept. 7 months had gone by and this vision, this horse, it was me. This wild horse. Didn't trust anyone. Didn't trust anyone. Wild horse. He was putting his hands on the horse. I don't know, it's a weird story, but this is how he spoke it out to me. This is how the teacher is demonstrating his love toward me. How he's doing it for you, all of you. It's going to be different. We all get to have our own story, our own testimony. Don't give up. The best part's ahead.
Did you hear that? If you are going through anything today and you feel like you're at the end of your road, don't give up.
Yeah.
The best parts are still ahead.
When it's so dark, you can't stand another second of it. Remember this. The darkest part of night is just before morning. That's the way he made it. Don't give up. Don't die a quarter mile away from the finish line. Don't give up. He knows your struggle. You're coming to the end of something and the beginning of something completely different. Why would he offer us wings when he knows we're all just belly crawlers? He says, "Wait upon me. You'll mount up with wings as eagles." I'm telling you, I know that that's possible because this toddler, this child, this kindergartner is learning how to fly a little bit with those wings. Had to go into a hard place, a cocoon.
The testimony of Michael Jones is an amazing story of God's faithfulness. Did you know that the same God that led the children of Israel out of Egypt, the same God that shut the mouth of lions for Daniel, and the same God that caused the sun to stand still for Joshua is the same God today. What he did back then, he can do for you.